Did any of you predict that Gerson would be one of Deltarune's secret bosses? Because honestly, we probably should have, considering Chapter 2 gave us a literal Mettaton Neo fight. Between Spamton Neo and the Hammer of Justice, it seems like Toby Fox is using Deltarune to give a lot of Undertale fans the fight they've been dreaming of for the past 10 years. The original Mettaton Neo fight ended in one turn, leading many fans to come up with concepts of what a real version of the fight would look like. In Deltarune Chapter 2, Toby Fox gave us Spamton Neo, which is literally just Spamton in Mettaton Neo's body, using the same soul mode mechanics, harder versions of Mettaton's attacks from Undertale, and even a battle theme that references Power of Neo. And now at Chapter 4, we finally have a Gerson fight, one of the few fan-favorite characters that didn't get a boss battle at all in Undertale. On the surface, this kinda seems like blatant fan service, and it is. Not that there's anything super wrong with that, but I kind of wanted to talk about why I think it works in these cases and doesn't feel cheap or out of place. And as this video goes on, I want you to think about some other Undertale characters that never got a proper fight, and which ones could potentially feature in future chapters of Deltarune. For years, Mettaton Neo was perhaps the most blatantly unutilized concept from Undertale, a genocide route exclusive encounter with a unique design and even their own battle theme, hyped up to be the ultimate human-killing machine, only to die in one hit. Of course, this was pretty effective from a game design perspective to demonstrate just how powerful the player had become over the course of the genocide route. It makes sense in context, but that didn't stop the fan base from lamenting the prospect of a complete Mettaton Neo fight, creating fan-made concepts for what a fight would look like, and even fully realized renditions of their battle theme Power of Neo. Fast forward to 2021, and Toby Fox releases Deltarune Chapter 2, complete with a side quest in which you upload Spamton to a rusted Mettaton Neo body, creating the secret boss fight of the chapter, Spamton Neo. This is still one of the coolest side quests in the game, and I want to make a separate video breaking down how well designed Spamton's side quest is from like a game design perspective. In the Undertale 9th anniversary newsletter, Toby Fox released some behind the scenes for Deltarune Chapter 2's development, revealing several scrapped music tracks. Among these were several drafts of a fully realized version of Power of Neo, which would have played during this fight. Toby said that, quote, "After creating Undertale, one of my goals for Deltarune was for players to finally be able to challenge a real version of Mettaton Neo that didn't just end in one turn. This idea apparently even went all the way back to 2016. Eventually, the boss concept evolved to include Spamton, which seems to suggest that the initial draft of Chapter 2 would have just had a straight-up fighting Mettaton Neo himself, or maybe just the Neo body without Mettaton's ghost in it. Either way, it's cool to hear that one of Toby's main goals was to create a full Mettaton Neo battle for the fans, and maybe this was a bit of a hint that we could expect more fan-servicey fights in Deltarune that we never got in Undertale. Overall, I think Spamton Neo works well because it's not just a Mettaton Neo fight. The idea evolved and expanded to incorporate an original character with their own unique lore, injecting fresh new ideas into the game while also happening to pay homage to Undertale. But because Spamton is still his own character with his own story who just so happens to utilize the Neo body, people can enjoy the Spamton Neo fight even without the context of Undertale. It even fits perfectly with having a secret boss based on something that is often discarded, considering that the Mettaton Neo fight is literally a discarded boss battle from Undertale. This brings us to Chapter 4's Hammer of Justice fight. Gerson was another character from Undertale who never got their own boss battle, but is a fan favorite anyways due to just how strong he is implied to be. Gerson tells us in Undertale that he trained Undyne and used to be called the Hammer of Justice. The only reason we don't get to fight him in the genocide route is because Gerson knows you can't start a battle in the shop menu, a fourth wall break which adds to how badass he's portrayed as. For Chapter 4 of Deltarune, Toby literally brought this man back from the dead so we can experience a true Hammer of Justice battle. But of course, he's not just here for the sake of fan service. Gerson's appearance establishes to us, the audience, that Dark Worlds can bring back deceased monsters in very specific circumstances, which is a neat little detail that will almost certainly be relevant later in the game. And of course, Gerson's character in Deltarune acts as a mentor for Susie, furthering her character development as well as leading her to question the ideas of the prophecy. Gerson also fits with the theme of being discarded. As he states, he never got to finish writing his book, and nobody else helped to continue the series. He also fits the theme of freedom as he questions the idea that your fate is written in stone by the prophecy. Overall, Toby Fox doesn't have to break the rules of his own game or twist the plot apart just to try and shove in fan-servicey moments. Instead, he's gently allowing the story to come upon opportunities for fan service that are relevant and meaningful to Deltarune rather than being detracting and forced. Elements that serve the overall plot and themes of Deltarune while also happening to be somewhat fan servicey. I'm sure it's satisfying to him as well to be able to explore ideas that he wasn't able to in Undertale, which I think he will absolutely continue to do in future Deltarune chapters. The distinction between Chris and the player alongside the existence of the vessel sets up perfectly for an opportunity to have the player fight against a human character, either a battle against the vessel itself or a battle where we use the vessel to fight against Chris. Either of these would essentially be a way to give players the Kara fight we never got in Undertale, the fight so many people have spent years making fan concepts of. What if we could fight a human protagonist? The other big thing would be a gaster fight. I'm hoping I don't need to explain to you why we know almost with certainty that Gaster is present in Deltarune, but yeah. If Toby can bring Gerson back from the dead to give us a friendly bout with him, I think a Gaster boss battle is definitely on the table, especially for the weird route, which is literally themed around exploiting obscure video game secrets. Now, I'm not saying every secret boss fight from here on out has to be Undertale fan service. I actually think it would be kinda lame if the game became oversaturated with Undertale references rather than focusing on original characters like Jevil and the Darkners. But considering we still have 3 chapters left in the game, I'm willing to bet at least one of them will contain another fan-servicey secret boss. Now, so far I've only been using this pattern to suggest such wild ideas as we might fight the vessel or Gaster might show up, which, you know, the fandom has been talking about since chapter 1. But I want to put a new theory out there. You see, I think we kind of underestimated how relevant the returning Undertale cast would be to Deltarune's main plot. The first 2 chapters seemed to treat them mainly as cameos and focused more on building out original characters like the Darkners and such. But chapters 3 and 4 kind of subverted that, with original Undertale characters seeing a lot more attention. Undyne is now directly tied to the main bunker mystery. Asgore probably had something to do with Death's disappearance and will almost certainly be the next main antagonist. Sans is bagging your mom. Toriel is getting more screen time than she did in Undertale. There's notably somebody missing, and I'm not just talking about Papyrus, although it would be pretty cool to make a Disbelief Papyrus the final boss of the weird route, just throwing it out there in case it happens. No, there's one key member of Undertale who's been waiting to receive a little more attention and weight in the plot, and that is Alphys. I know right now Alphys is just a school teacher, but remember, before chapter 4, we all thought Asgore was just a divorced man. There's absolutely room in the plot for Alphys to become more relevant. Remember, who's the character that's been kidnapped and locked in the bunker? Undyne, who Alphys will certainly notice the disappearance of. Alphys may just be a teacher, sure, but remember where the main dark fountain of the game is? In the school. And more importantly, Alphys is a constantly overlooked character, a social outcast who's obsessed with fiction, and dark worlds are literally just allegories for depressed people using fiction as an escape. I would not be surprised if Alphys follows her students into a dark world and absolutely loves every second of it. But we can take this even further. Think about how Alphys would feel in a world where fantasy comes to life, where magic is real, and everything functions like an adventure game. She'd probably never want the dream to end, and she'd probably be very opposed to letting the Fun Gang seal the Dark Fountain, perhaps even using her authority as Chris and Susie's teacher to stand against them. Like I mentioned earlier, Alphys is a social outcast, commonly left out and overlooked by others. The Dark World would offer her the freedom to be herself and embrace the fantasy she's so obsessed with. An outcast with the opportunity to attain freedom and a motivation to get in the Fun Gang's way. I think Alphys has the potential to be a secret boss. Remember when I asked you earlier to think of other characters from Undertale who never got a boss battle? Who's literally the prime example? Think about Alphys Takes Action, think about Outer Tale's genocide boss. Alphys is the character who never got a boss fight. And if Toby can bring back Gerson from the dead for us to fight him, I think it's genuinely possible that we'll see an Alphys secret boss as the ultimate fanservice-y fight. I guess the only issue here is that we already used the yellow soul mode, and I don't think Toby would give her the purple or blue one. I think the purple soul mode would be an original secret boss, and the blue soul mode is probably just Gaster or Papyrus or whatever at the very end of the game. So maybe Alphys can have a fight themed around blue and orange attacks. Another mechanic from Undertale that hasn't seen any use in Deltarune, but basically represents the other two soul colors anyways. Just throwing that idea out there. But yeah, that's the video. This is absolutely a crackpot theory, but I figured I might as well get this idea out here in case it actually ends up happening, because who knows at this point. This is the part where I tell you to subscribe because I upload weekly Deltarune content. And if you want to support the channel directly, you can join the Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you can get all my videos early. Thanks for watching till the end, and I'll see you all next week.